Hi, I'm Martin from Inkjet and Printer Potty. What we're going to do is show you how to change the waste pad on an Ecotank 2750. This process does not apply to an ET-2710, 2711, 2720. For whatever reason, Epson decided to go with a lower capacity waste ink pad or porous pad assembly on those other models. So it's similar, but the actual part is different. Okay, so what we're going to do, the waste pads are located back here in the lower rear right portion of the printer. Okay, so we're just going to turn that around so we can access the screw at the back here, and then we're going to remove that screw as required. Now, it doesn't come all the way out. The screw does not release completely because it has a little retaining lug just there which stops it pulling all the way through. So don't spend hours trying to unscrew it, you'll be there forever. Then we locate, there is a screw at the bottom just here that needs to be removed to remove the porous pad assembly, this bit here, from the printer. You remove that, pop it on the panel there. Then this printer, this unit, waste pad holder unit, will come straight out to the side of the printer. Now, as you can see, pretty yucky and horrible in there. So that is the original unit. Now, in terms of replacing it, you've got a number of different options. So that's the original Epson part. You can then slide that straight in like that, put the screw back in, put the panel back on, and then you have to reset the waste counter. You can also fit a T04D1 maintenance box. Now that comes with a chip on it. It isn't used in this printer, but the pad holder itself is identical. So if you're really stretched, this particular unit will work. This is a compatible unit, but it works in exactly the same way, as you can see. Slides straight in, has the same sort of waste pads in it. Again, screw, panel back on, and again, you have to reset it. Using a chipped version will not reset the waste counter on this model. The chip is not used. Okay, so that is another option. Alternatively, you can use one of our printer pad sets, which is this here. This comes in a nice little package, usually folded up like that. Will go through your door, etc. But it's just the pads. So what you do is you reuse the old porous pad assembly, this bit here, and you take the pads out and throw those away and replace them with these ones here. Now I'm going to go through that process with you now so that you can see how it's done. And this is probably one of the worst examples of what you'll come across, purely and simply because, like I say, this printer was sent to us with no print head in it and ink still fully installed, nothing plugging the tubes, and it was just a mess. Right, so you remove that screw, and then everything else is about taking off the little unit here. Now, you want to have some kind of container to be able to put your old pads into. Okay, so definitely a good idea to have gloves for this. Now you can see these pads are not overly saturated, but the chances are yours would be. So just get rid of all of these, take them out. Now I know some videos recommend that you wash them and stick them back in. If you are going to wash them and stick them back in, one key thing you should never do when washing them is squeeze out the ink. If you do that, you will felt the pads even more, and they will reduce the capacity for the ink that they can actually hold. Okay, so that's a critical point. Right, now I am not going to wash this pad holder out because our tap is a very strong jet type, and if I do that, we'll get ink, dilute ink, but still ink, all over the walls, over the sink and everywhere. So yeah, I'm just going to wipe it out best I can, remove the excess like this. So what we now do is put our pad holder back together in the same way that it came out over here. The way these go in, probably easiest is to stick them in as you go. So part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, or parts 2 and 2, what should I say? Then it is part number, so you got 1, 2, 2, 3, and then these two go in. So the long cutout is at this end and the short cutout is at this end. So that goes in like so. And again, same on the next one down. Just gonna have to squeeze it in. Same thing. Once you've done that, it may not look particularly tidy, but trust me, this will absorb all that waste ink for you. Okay, so once you've done that, it's then a case of sliding the cover back into position. You'll notice this has like a little lip here. So that's where that needs to go over the top of. The way to do that is to sort of, like I said, just pull it a little bit this way, and that will pull it wide over the top and then push down like so. All the different lugs and everything else will slide into position. Once you've done that, you then get your screw into the top and you screw that back into position. Key thing to remember is these pads are designed to hold the ink in like a nappy. So even though you can see that the ink would leak out of here if it overflowed, the waste counter is there to protect that from happening. So once you've done that, you can then, there's no chips to reset because obviously this doesn't have a chip. Now you slide that back into position like so. You take the screw that we had earlier and you slide it into there. Now we found that getting this screw back into the right position can be a bit of a sod. Getting it in can be fun. Just persevere with it. It will eventually catch like that. So, screws then in. Panel is now back on. We then screw that screw thread back in until it's all the way locked in. That's it. Once you've done that, you now need to reset the waste ink counter using a WIC reset key and utility, or if you've got something else that does the same job, you need to do that. But changing the pads on their own will not just immediately tell the printer, hey, I'm fine. Okay, so that is how to change the pads in an ET-2750. Because I've prepared earlier, i.e. I haven't, I don't have a proper bag. I'm going to use this though. Sod is British for pain in the derriere, backside, ass, whichever you want to call it.